for coming along to the Workforce Engagement Toolkit plenary booth here. My name is Scott Mitchell. Most of you probably don't know me. I'm HSC manager with Molloy. Co-hosting this is Molloy, who most of you probably do know from the R&D Union. So, a lot of you are probably asking, why are we here and what's the link and why are we presenting this piece? To take you back a step, a bit of background. Around about 2009, members of the Step Change leadership team during one of the meetings were banding around the topic of workforce engagement and essentially asking themselves the question as to what is workforce engagement, what components make up engagement. And as a result of that, the workforce engagement subgroup was born. So Jake's been on it right from the very start, back in the 2009. Myself, I joined probably late 2010, 2011 on the group. So the two of us were quite heavily involved in the conception of the actual toolkit itself, the practical guide of the actual survey which has been rolled out. And the group doesn't just stop when the survey was rolled out. We still regularly, and the next challenge is probably the most important challenge, which is the sustainability part. So Les spoke about it this morning in regards to making sure that workforce engagement is the fourth KPI in regards to the industry. So that sustainability part is going to play a large part in regards to making sure that organisations and workplaces maintain the work that's been done already so far. So most of you who are aware of the actual practical guide will know that it is only just the survey, and I know that the survey is just one aspect of the guide itself. There's various different components to it. Gillian spoke about a number of those this morning. Mike Boyer, who's one of the co-chairs on the actual work group himself, was involved when we started this up, said if we're going to have a model of workforce engagement, then we need to keep it simple. And that's no slight in our workforce, but the simpler it is, the easier it is to communicate. And so the model that you all saw this morning was nice and simple, and it's one that stood us in good stead so far. We take the positive behaviours, positive attitudes, we then look at removing the negative behaviours that are exhibited, and the end result should be that we've got this culture of engagement where people and employees feel empowered and engaged to actually contribute, they're able to challenge, and able to participate. So there's a bit of work to be done there in individual workplaces, but that's the model. We'll find out this afternoon as to what the flavour is within the audience here within the survey this morning. So I suppose the most obvious thing, well, just to explain what we hope to do here, obviously Gillian's done a wee bit of background. So the purpose of this plenary booth is twofold. One, we're going to give you a little bit of high-level feedback with regards to what we've found so far, the information, the feedback, what's been gathered to date. Also, we're now on session 4 of 6. Myself and Jake's voices are going. Jake's already drank 10 gallons of water. We're not going to stand here and speak just ourselves for 20 minutes. We really want your feedback. As I said, we both still sit on the group. We've already scribbled down numerous notes from comments that have been made so far, so we really want your input with regards to what works, what doesn't work, what you find within your own work sites, and let us feed that back to the work group, so when we do look at the sustainability part, we can really lean on sort of best practice. So the best starting point really is to ask, say the numbers are dwindling group by group, but quick show of hands as to how many people have actually participated in the survey so far on their own work site, their own organisation, or been involved in it to date. Okay. Do a quick it's probably quite reflective of all the sessions that we've had so far. So the next part in regards is the rollout. Those that have participated in it, we're going to ask them, and this is where you start giving us some feedback. How was it rolled out within your workplace? Was it rolled out in a fashion where there was proper communication around the background as to the origins of the survey, why you were doing the survey, what you hope to achieve at the end of it, or was it rolled out in a sense of, here you go, here's a bit of paper, here's some questions, fill it in and post it in a box? We're keen to know within your own individual areas how was it introduced to you. So those that put their hands up to the first question, any feedback on that?
Yeah, Mark Layden from Patchy North Sea, 40s Charlie. Yeah, we had a couple of posters put up at the last minute before it came out. We actually had a paper copy of the survey put up in the galley by chef team leader, who was a safety rep as well. He put it up in the galley to hand out. There's very little communication of why it came forth. It was just another survey to fill in. We only got a bit of interest because we saw step change on the top of it. So let's look at this, and the safety rep started talking, got a bit more information. Obviously you've got emails from Step Change themselves just after that, so that pushed on a bit. So certainly the safety reps are pushing out place, and eventually Apache sent out an email to just the Apache employees, not the contractors. All the contractors got was a couple of posters.
Okay. Well, about that one. So far, Gillian touched on it earlier on. There's been the survey was rolled out in Q3 of last year, so we've got about 8 or 9 months worth of data, and obviously the way it's been rolled out has been different. So there's industry events where the toolkit and the survey's been introduced, and obviously individual workplaces have taken it and rolled it out in different manners. But to date, there's been something like 5,500, I think it's actually closer to 6,000 survey responses that have been collated back. These responses come from a number of different work sites, so 88 different work sites, with onshore work sites, offshore work sites, fixed platforms, modules as well. We've got a range of different locations that have contributed to those 5,500, 6,000 responses that we have received. Back at the start of this year, the Step Change leadership team made a commitment that 100% of that leadership team would either have completed the survey or initiated a survey by June of this year. So they've got a few weeks left to go yet, but already that number's sitting at 91% of the team who have actually completed the survey. The other target that they set was with regards to fixed installations offshore. So the target was that by the end of this year, 50% of fixed manned installations in the UK continental shelf would have completed the survey. If you go onto the Step Change website, you'll see there's almost like a live gauge which tracks participation of the leadership team and also participation on locations. So that number just now is sat at around about 35%. So there's a bit of work there to go, but we'll do it until the year end to complete that. So the survey kick-off, and it's interesting to hear your comments on how it was done, and particularly the way then the workforce then kicked back and looked for a bit more. The information that we've been receiving so far has been quite varied. So we've had a couple of organisations who have said, well, actually, yeah, we were informed in advance. We were told why we were doing it. We were told they receive benefits. To a couple of organisations who literally have said we were handed a survey sheet and told there's a post box, go and fill it in and hand it in. Now, the quality of the results that are fed back into the system are very, very much dependent on the quality of the rollout in the first place. I can't stress how important it is that it's rolled out in such a fashion that people are aware as to why they're doing it. And what we find, those that have looked at the survey data, is there is this general perception amongst a number of people who have completed it that it's been done in what they call this tick and flick fashion. So you look at a survey response with 5 options, and literally you can put a ruler right down the middle where somebody's literally filled in the boxes and handed it in. And that's indicative of those who are not really being informed as to why they've been asked to do it in the first place and what the benefits are. So the variation in responses is very much dependent on how the survey's been rolled out in the first place. So those that are planning to roll it out in their own workplaces, those that are going to be involved in it, I would stress, make sure that rollout before you actually initiate the survey is done in such a fashion that people know why they're doing it, that there's an understanding that this isn't just another survey, it's not just another box to tick or another form to fill in. It's been done by industry, it's been done for industry, and hopefully the outputs, as you'll have seen from what we were spoken about this morning, and maybe some of the other work groups have rolled it out, the benefits are there as to why you should actually be doing it. The other main piece of feedback we get regarding the rollout is the method in which the survey is carried out. So those that have done it will know it can be done online, and it can also be done in paper format. And what we're finding is that the responses that are coming back, those that have completed it in paper format, are very much more of the tick and flick fashion. And what we're finding is there's generally this perception that people, biggest concern is the anonymity issue, the confidentiality issue. And the perception is that if it's completed on an online forum, it's traceable back to themselves. People who fill in the online forums we find are far more open, far more honest, and I suppose the perception is that once they click send, it disappears into a big black hole in cyberspace, and there's no way this is going to be traced back to me. So if I'm open and honest about my work site and I complete it on online, I'm reassured that confidentiality is there. Those that are filling in the paper format, as I say, it's more tick and flick, there's less detail in the actual responses, and there is very much this perception that it can be traced back to the people. So the other key message which you really should be stressing to your people is the forms are completely confidential. whether it's online, whether it's paper copies. There's no names taken. Each individual work site will get an information pack back on that particular work site and the culture in that area, and also they can benchmark it against industry. There's no particular, this individual said this particular comment, and this company highlighted this particular feelings. It is completely confidential, so we can't stress enough. The biggest concern of people is, is it anonymous, and for those rolling it out, to make sure that that message is put across. And, preferably, we want people to answer it online. There's less logistics involved, and we are getting more honest responses. If people are using the paper response, then reassure them that their responses are treated with the strictest confidentiality.
I'd just like to again emphasise the importance of this thing. I mean, I got involved in this thing because I see the potential of this as quite significant for everybody from the bottom all the way to the top. For managers to be able to assess where the problems are, and for the workforce to be able to get a message over. I mean, we're here, the 25th anniversary of Bible, and if you think the chief executive of Occidental stood in front of Lord Cullen and said that he thought everything was all right because nobody told them anything different. This is where we've come to. You've got the opportunity to tell them there's a problem. As workers and as managers, they've got the opportunity to address that. So it's key, absolutely key. One of the findings we've got thus far suggests that supervisors, managers feel there's about a 10% difference between managers and the workers about their views about engagement, about involvement, about safety performance, etc. That's no indicative. Doesn't reflect what Mercer says, so clearly Mercer are ahead of the game. But that information itself gives us the opportunity to address that. It gives us the opportunity to make sure that it's getting further down and engaging the workforce degree. I've also got to emphasise the importance of making sure that everybody gets involved. That's when I say everybody, I'm talking about workforce engagement. Everybody is part of the workforce. If you've got a bad manager or a bad supervisor or a poor performance safety rate on the site, then that will have an effect on this. If you're filling it in as you should. The tick and flick approach is a complete and utter waste of time. If you're not going to commit to this and use it as it's meant to be used, you're wasting time. That's why Scott's emphasised the need for a proper rollout for managers, for the workforce. We need to get the buy-in. We need to get that buy-in in order to influence the people right up through senior management back doing that. Some of the key and I think safety reps actually have got a key role to play in this, getting it pushed up and down that to remove that 10% long term. Some of the messages we're getting through, because there's a feedback opportunity in the toolbox, and this is a reflection of some of the key ones that have been put up. I don't know if the guys who have done the survey already, if this is indicative of what you've been told. But you can see there's some of them who are really need to pay some attention to. This was highlighted in the last booth session for them and us, and maybe we could do more to survey contractors to try and change contractor attitudes. There's another set of feedbacks here which I want to touch on briefly as well. Nothing surprising there, everything you would expect to see, apart from my perspective, that. I mean, I spent 17 years offshore and 7 of them at the safety net. The amount of times guys came to me and said, we had 3 hours overtime a night, things would be a lot better. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. If you think for a minute, putting a few quid in your pocket, you're going to stop someone dropping on your head, killing you, you're getting involved for all the wrong reasons. So we've got to eliminate that perception, that attitude. Someone's going to change because they're going to get a few extra bucks. I mean, I don't know if anybody in the room's got any feedback in that respect, but or indeed any views. I know this is one that comes up regularly from supervisors offshore and the workforce as well. And this, if we can get that across the sector, then we can address that. I mean, clearly the paperwork issue from the surveys that have been done thus far is highlighted. But I think I'll hand back to Scott to give you the main themes that are coming through just now. But I say, get it out there. The guides are at the front door. This is an engagement session. this is the opportunity for you to go back and communicate. And communicate is one of the key elements of this.
So this question here is the only free text question in the survey itself. So this is the opportunity for those completing the survey to put something down on paper or online as to regards to one thing do we do to get more involved in health and safety. So out of the 5,500 to 6,000 survey responses that have been submitted, 2,000 people have put a comment into that box. Again, if you look at the 2,000 people, it's sort of veers towards more of those that have completed online, which again sort of backs up what we're saying in regards to people are taking the time that those completed in the online version. 2,000 people have given us feedback. And so from those feedback, and this is, as we said, it's quite high level. There's a number of sort of key messages which have come out in there. The sort of underlying themes with regards to the messages, the feedback that has been given. So the first one is regards to the training and education. People want to know, people want to learn, people who want to be involved and feel engaged are asking for further training, further education. Steve Walker of the HSE, I can't remember the full quote, but he talks about the prohibitive cost of attending events. So events like this, training courses, step change share fairs, things like that. If we put it into perspective, the engaged worker who goes to his OIM and says, I want to go and attend Pipe 25, or I want to go and attend safety rep training, and is told, no sorry, can't afford to let you go around that. How engaged is that worker really going to be? Somebody who has the attitude and who wants to make a difference. If we are prohibiting them from furthering themselves, then that level of engagement just disappears straight away. And they're not going to be able to contribute or participate because they're thinking, what's the point? I'm not going to be supporting what I do. So this is key. This is key. The further training and education. Let people blossom in the way that they want to. The second key point is regards to time. Very much throughout the sort of responses that we did receive was this perception that people see as I'm asked to do things from a health and safety perspective, but it's an add-on, and I'm not allocated the time. And this survey is a prime example of that. If we want people to be open and honest and give us proper feedback, then those that are rolling it out really should be allocating the correct time to allow people to do it. Don't just hand it out and say to people, in your tea break, go and fill in this survey, because that's when we're going to get this tick and flick response. What we want to do is saying, okay, we'll allocate you half an hour in your day to go, sit, read through it, be open, be honest, and give us some valuable feedback. So if we're not allocating the right time, then again, that level of sort of participation from those who want to get involved is going to be diminished straight away. If you think back to Mikey Craig's comments this morning when he was talking about the safety reps, and he talked about the sort of top 10%, the bottom 10% who'll never be persuaded, but that 80% in the middle, the floating voters. The workforce is exactly the same. There's a big chunk in the middle who can be influenced, who can be led, and who, with a little bit of direction, will be able to participate and can actually make that difference. And so, allow them the time, make sure that they've got the information to hand. And the last point is probably the most key one, and this is where most of the feedback, and it surrounds communication. Like Jake touched on before, the comments there that were quite typical was that them and us. Decisions made on the beach and then just implemented offshore, and there's no two-way feedback. It's literally, you will do this. So what level of communication? Is it engaging communication, or is it literally sort of dictatorial in that sense? I love the quote from Bob Egan this morning where he spoke about having a moan and a complaint, but it's even better when actually somebody you want to complain to is actually going to do something about it and will listen. That's communication, that's two-way communication. There's no point in him sitting in the tea room complaining and nothing gets done about it. We need people who are able to listen and be listened. So that's key to everything that we're trying to achieve with regards to engagement. Quite often you'll hear the stories of the MDs who pay the day visits out to the rig, get their lunch and disappear again. Is there conversations being had? Is there two-way conversations with the workforce with regards to what can be done better? And that's the one key thing. And really to finish with the underlying comments that came back. If there's one key thing, the one main thing that should be improved that would make a difference is this conversation, this deep conversation about engagement factors. What can we do to engage the workforce? So rather than this, this whistle-stop tour and their lunch and then disappear again, these senior managers, those within positions of influence, really need to be having that deep conversation. Somebody in one of the earlier booths, earlier sessions, made the comment, and it was a great comment about there's an awful lot of workplaces who don't want to know, people who actually don't want to know how bad things might be, and it's going back to what Jake talked about with regards to the 10% variation. Those in senior positions have the rose-tinted glasses and think things are great. Not maybe quite to the extent of the Occidental management 25 years ago, but there is still that perception, that that nobody tells me that things must be okay. Ian Sharp, who co-chairs this particular group, coins a great phrase about, we want senior managers and leaders to have that chronic sense of unease, to be told things they don't want to know, to be told things that actually everything that you think may be great might not necessarily be so. So these deep conversations about engagement factors, what can we do to make sure that we've got that workforce that's engaged, that feels that they contribute, that feels that they can challenge anything they may be asked to do, and ultimately leads to a safer culture at the end. Comments that we've said here, any surprises, or would that be what you would expect to see generally within our industry with regards to how the workforce feel? Shaking your head here, is that it?
No, it is. That's the truth. That's the fact. There. Black and white. The financial one is a big bugbear for me as well. It's not about money, it's about hate. That is a terrible thing to put up there.
Yes.
It's wrong.
We looked at the feedback and we were astounded that somebody would put on the form that, what can we do to improve health safety, financial incentive? It really shouldn't come to that. But we've spoken a lot about how our industry has moved on in 25 years, and then there's still some comments there. So it does tell us an awful lot with regards to sort of reflection as to where we actually are and where we think we are. There is still people out there that, as Jake said, give me 3 hours overtime and I'll work safe. Is that really where we are? Everyone had the opportunity this morning to sample the questionnaire. There was only about 15 questions out of the thought itself. So this afternoon's session we'll get some feedback. Tim, do you want to hazard a guess of what we think that feedback will be? Where do you think it'll point us?
Line 2.
Line 2. Okay. Anybody got any alternative views on where we think it'll be? It will be 3. I think it'll be 3. Okay. 3. It's interesting. We've had all sorts of responses. Personally, I think it'll be nearer 4. I think the people that are here today are here willingly, are here because they want to make a difference, and will have answered it in such a way that we are more engaged.
Depends where you work, doesn't it?
But we've had a few people that have said I think it'll be down nearer 2.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting, and it'll be good to see what that actual feedback is.
One of the things the guys didn't mention, so my name's Ken, I'm the co-chair of Step Change and Safety, and I think one of the things that's really important of this is it can help you at a site level, so you can see the site level, what your issues are, but hopefully it's going to help us at an industry level through Step Change, where we've got some common opportunity areas or problem areas, we'll work on that across the industry, so that's really important. We'll help the Step Change leadership team, which is made up of unions, workforce, contract companies, operators, the regular. It will help us identify a few things we might work on going forward as well, so that's something we really want to do.
And the way the results are fed back, Ken's right, every work site will be able to see their own individual set of results, but they'll also see industry benchmarks, so they can benchmark themselves against the rest of the industry. They won't see specific locations and what one organisation culture is like compared to another organisation, but what they will be able to see is where industry is in a whole, and where they are, and where the gaps are between the two of them. And in the toolkit itself, one of the sort of key elements for going forward is, take the survey results, look at them, and just pick 2 or 3 key areas. If there's a number of issues that are highlighted, you're never going to fix everything in one go. Pick the 2 or 3 most important key areas, and those are the areas that should be able to addressed. As we said earlier on, myself and Jake sit on the group. Has anybody got any other feedback that they'd like for us to take back? So there's two questions we can ask then. Is anybody here today, this is the first time they've heard about the workforce engagement tool? No? Everyone's at least heard of it? Is anybody here?
So I just want to ask a question, if that's all right. I just wondered, you're saying about rolling it out and how, what management did it go to be rolled out? Because I wonder how the rollout of this was applied to the platforms and drillers and whatever else it's gone to. Just it was from my personal my platform. I brought it back to my platform from attending a meeting and giving the feedback from meetings to the platform. That's the only information that we've ever had. It's just that from me attending a meeting and saying this is what's happening. And by what the guy was saying over there, it's the same from the safety rep. So I just wondered, if there's something been missed or something, because we've had no.
That's why you're here, to give us this feedback.
Yeah, so I was just wondering.
You're saying that essentially that you're needing more communication from management.
Yeah, because I don't know what management it's supposed to come from, or you know who's supposed to be rolling it out, or.
Well, it should be the client, it should be the operator of your installation, or whoever's running your work site should be rolling it out to encourage you to get involved in it, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason we're doing this, to gauge
Okay.
the
So
level
obviously
of...
seems to be a little bit of a, because I'm the only one that's brought anything back and nothing else has come from anywhere else sort of thing. So
And it's certainly, and Ken will be able to vouch for this, and the Step Change leadership team are all fully aware of the toolkit and have all made this commitment that during the course of this year that it will be rolled out. So all those organisations have made that commitment that it will be. So.
To protect the guilty, we'll get the name later. I'll get a wee email out. But in all fairness, we started on a journey here, so I'm not sure where the breakdown is. I think we've all got an opportunity, so safety reps, managers of sites, company reps. Most companies have got a rep through Step Change, and Step Change have been feeding them the info as well as through the safety forum. Unions involved, so there's a whole pile of folk. We've all got, as far as I'm concerned, we're all accountable, so it shouldn't be them up there or them down there. We're all accountable for taking this and making it work. So if you're not getting the support from your site leadership team, then I'm very happy to find a way of engaging them, whichever way I think is possible to do that, and make it work.
I think it's worth a balance. So certainly in our company, it was OIMs and the safety reps that rolled it out. But the OIMs were brought in and given a package. There's a lot to read, but it was condensed into a package to present, because you don't want to take it all up, present everything. So they had a package, so they get told, and the safety reps get told what it was for. Then they went offshore and they presented it. My only concern about that is, as you change different shifts, do you get the same message each shift?
Consistency.
But the package was handed over, so there is a balance. I suppose there's some way. To me, the online logistically sometimes isn't the best way. Sometimes you don't get computers, there's people all over. So,
and that's why both options were given, because I fully appreciate it.
but I had to explain why, and
Yeah.
100% right. So if you don't get it explained, how can you do it reasonably?
And that's, I mean, through the 4 sessions we've ran so far this morning, that message is pretty much existed in all of them.
It's so important.
The rollout and the information that's been given to people is really key, and the variation of responses that we've found.
Gone from lip service to the best service, you know what I mean? It really is, that's the message we're getting out.
Our disco lights are flashing here, so I believe that's now lunchtime. So if anybody didn't get the opportunity to give us any feedback, please use the